Welcome to another episode of Breakfast AI podcast.
Great to be here.
Today we're diving straight into some pretty significant developments over at OpenAI.
Yeah, specifically, their plans for a new quote-unquote open AI model. It's stirring up quite a bit of discussion.
Absolutely. And I think our mission for this deep dive is really to unpack what makes this particular announcement so noteworthy, especially, given everything else happening with OpenAI models right now.
Exactly. What's the real significance here?
Okay, so let's start with the basics. OpenAI let it be known, I think it was towards the end of March, that they're planning to release their first openly accessible language model since GPT-2.
Yeah, that's the first thing that jumps out, isn't it? The gap since GPT-2.
Huge gap.
It really highlights how they've generally kept their more advanced stuff, well, not open.
Right.
So this new push, targeting sometime this year, maybe early summer 2025, according to some reports, it feels deliberate.
And they've got Aiden Clark, their VP of Research, leading it. So it seems like a serious effort, even if it's still early days.
Definitely not a spur-of-the-moment thing. It suggests a considered strategy shift.
Considered, yeah, and ambitious too, because the word is this will be a reasoning model, kind of like their O-series models. And the goal isn't just to release it, but to have it top the benchmarks among other open reasoning models.
Right, and that reasoning part is key. We should probably clarify what that means. It's not just pattern matching or text generation.
It's more about problem solving, logical steps.
Exactly. Understanding relationships between concepts, drawing inferences, tag problems that need, a chain of thought. It's moving AI closer to actual understanding, not just mimicry.
So if they pull off a benchmark-topping open reasoning model, that's a pretty powerful tool to just hand over to developers, isn't it?
It really could be. Imagine having that kind of capability without being tied into one specific company's closed system. It could really boost innovation across the board.
Okay, now let's talk about the licensing, because this sounds potentially game-changing. Reports are suggesting OpenAI is thinking about a very permissive license. Minimal restrictions, maybe even for commercial use.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
It feels like a direct response to some of the criticism aimed at, say, LLaMA or Google's Gemma, where the licenses can be a bit more complex, right?
Definitely. Those more onerous requirements, as some call them, can really be a barrier, especially for smaller teams or startups trying to build a business on top of these models.
So a super permissive license could just open the floodgates.
It could lower the barrier to entry significantly, much wider experimentation, easier integration into different products.
Yeah, potentially faster progress overall, though, that openness also brings up questions about control, misuse.
Sure, the safety angle. We'll get to that. But staying on adoption for a sec, it feels like they must be looking at what competitors are doing.
Oh, absolutely. You can't ignore it.
The reports mention labs like DeepSeek in China having success with open models and Meta's LLaMA models. What was it, over 1 billion downloads? 1 billion, yeah. That's massive. It proves there's a huge appetite for powerful open models.
So that kind of success, the vibrant communities building around LLaMA, OpenAI must be seeing that and thinking, okay, maybe we need to be in this space too.
You have to assume it's a major factor. Seeing competitors grab that mindshare, attract developers, foster ecosystems, it will certainly prompt a reevaluation of your own strategy. It's a compelling case for openness.
All right, so what about the model itself? What will it actually do? It's described as text in, text out, which sounds standard.
Pretty standard interface, yeah.
But the kicker seems to be the aim for it to run on high-end consumer hardware. Why is that such a big deal?
Well, think about it. If you can run a really sophisticated reasoning model on a powerful gaming PC or a good workstation, instead of needing massive, expensive cloud infrastructure.
And suddenly, a lot more people can actually use it. Researchers, students, small companies, hobbyists.
Exactly. It democratizes access to cutting-edge AI in a really practical way.
Yeah.
And there was also that mention of maybe being able to switch the reasoning capabilities on and off.
Oh, yeah. What was that about? Flexibility.
Potentially, yeah. Maybe you don't always need the full, complex reasoning. Sometimes you might want speed, lower latency for simpler tasks.
Yeah.
Being able to toggle that within the same model, that could be incredibly useful for developers tuning their applications.
And this might just be the start, right? There was some talk that if this first one goes well, they might release others, maybe smaller ones.
That's what the reports suggest. It hints that this isn't just a one-off experiment, but potentially the beginning of a broader open model strategy for OpenAI.
Like building out a whole family of open models.
Could be. Different sizes, different specializations, catering to various needs. It would signal a pretty fundamental shift from their historical focus on, well, mainly proprietary closed models.
Which ties into what Sam Altman himself has said publicly, doesn't it?
You mean his comments about open source?
Yeah, him saying he felt OpenAI had perhaps been on the wrong side of history regarding open sourcing and wanting to figure out a different open source strategy.
Right. I remember that Reddit Q&A back in January. That context is crucial, I think.
How so?
It suggests this move isn't purely reactive, just driven by competition. It points towards a potential deeper, more philosophical shift within the company, or at least from Altman's perspective. Even if he admitted not everyone there agreed or that it wasn't the top priority back then.
So it's been brewing internally for a while.
Seems likely. It frames this announcement as part of a longer-term reconsideration of their approach.
Okay, but whenever we talk about powerful AI models, especially open ones that anyone can download and potentially modify, the safety question looms large.
Always. It's the big one.
So it's good to hear Altman explicitly saying this model will get thorough, red teaming, proper safety evaluations.
And the promise of a model card. That's important.
Explain why the model card matters so much.
It's basically a detailed report. It should outline the model's capabilities, its limitations, how it performed in benchmarks, and critically, the result of safety testing, both their internal tests and potentially external ones. It's about transparency.
Building trust, letting people understand what they're actually working with.
Exactly. And for an open model, which people can tinker with after release, that transparency and rigorous upfront safety work are even more vital. Altman mentioning their preparedness framework and doing extra work because it's modifiable, that shows they're aware of the specific risks here.
Which is important context because, let's be honest, OpenAI has faced criticism before on safety, haven't they?
Yes, there have definitely been critiques from AI ethicists and others about, allegedly rushing safety testing on previous models or not releasing detailed model cards when maybe they should have.
And some accusations, though denied, about Altman misleading people on safety reviews internally.
Right. So that history makes their current emphasis on safety and transparency for this open model even more significant.
They really need to demonstrate they're taking it seriously this time, especially with an open release.
Precisely. To rebuild trust, address those past concerns.
Yeah.
The follow-through on the model card and detailing the safety evils will be absolutely crucial for credibility.
Okay, so let's try and sort of wrap this up. It really looks like OpenAI is making a major play in the OpenAI space.
Seems that way. A big strategic move.
They're aiming high. A top-tier reasoning model, a really developer-friendly license, running on hardware people actually have.
Likely pushed by competitors, yes, but also maybe reflecting a genuine internal rethink about the value of open source.
And the potential impact for you if you're a developer or researcher. It could be huge, right? Access to potentially state-of-the-art reasoning capabilities.
It definitely has the potential to shake things up and maybe accelerate progress, providing powerful, accessible tools for building whatever comes next in AI.
Which brings us nicely to our final thought for you, the listener. Given OpenAI's past hesitation about fully embracing open source for its top models, what factors do you think were really the tipping point this time? Was it just competition or something more?
And looking forward, what could be the biggest long-term consequences if a giant like OpenAI truly commits to open sourcing? How might that reshape the entire field of AI development down the road? Something to ponder.